I think we've lost a lot of civility in politics. If you have a Twitter, how will you use it to promote a positive America?
I do have a Twitter. You can go sign up on it now. First of all, I can tell you you will get music from time to time because I love music. You will hear about the shows that I'm watching, but then other things. Look, I think let's first take social media into account because you brought that up. I want to talk about that, and then we'll go into civility. The problem with big tech is when social media, we've opened that can of worms, right? And when we did, what did big tech do? They said, oh, but you can't hold us liable because it's freedom of speech. And they were right. So they passed Section 230 to say these tech companies can't be held liable. The problem is those tech companies changed the rules on us. And they suddenly decided who was good and who was bad. And they suddenly decided what was real and what wasn't. And when they took that freedom away, that gave us the right that we need to go back to them and say, you don't play by those rules anymore, and we need to go to them. When we do that, what we should ask tech companies to do is show us their algorithms. Transparency fixes all things. Show us your algorithms, show us what you push, show us how you push it, and let the world see it. Secondly, we need to get rid of the bots. And the reason everybody should verify who they are. You shouldn't have to buy a blue check mark. Everybody should have to verify who they are because a lot of these bots are Russians and Chinese and Iranians, and they are trying to separate us and divide us on race and other topics. That's what they're doing. That's why we want the bots to go away. And not only that, the civility comes back when you're tweeting something with your own face and your own name, and you know your neighbors and your pastor are going to see it. That's when you get that back in social media. So we've got to go back to that. In terms of the civility otherwise, look, I think it's really important that Republicans remember we have lost the last 7 out of 8 popular votes for president. That means we're doing something wrong. We should not be proud of that. We should want to win a majority of Americans. And the way you win a majority of Americans is our solutions are the right ones because we lift up everybody, not just a select few. But the way we communicate it matters. We should want to go and engage the Hispanic community. We should want to engage the Jewish community. We should want to engage the Asian community. We should want to engage more women. We should want to engage African Americans. And we can do it because I did it in South Carolina. You don't go to them and say you should be with us. You go to them and say, what do you care about? Guess what? They all care about their kids' education. They all care about their kids having opportunities that they didn't have. They all want a safe America that's strong abroad. Our goal should be showing a national purpose. And we don't do it, let me tell you, you don't do it with faint hearts and you don't do it with watered down compromises. You don't have to compromise. You do it with a national purpose that is good and true and ask your opponents to join you. That's how we win. That's what we'll do. When we get back to that, that's when we'll go back to how we lived growing up and get back to that place. I have faith. I think we can do it. It's going to take all of us to make it happen, but I do think we can do it. Do you have a question?
Hi, yeah. My question is, there's a lot of division in politics right now, and I'm kind of curious, what are you going to do as president when it comes to reaching across the aisle and working with the Democrats? Because as a conservative, I do want conservative policies, but for the nation, I think the most important thing is to be able to sit down and have a discussion and figure out some policies that both sides can come to the table with.
So it's a great question because if we think about it, if we were to go to the grocery store right now and not know the political affiliation of anybody in the grocery store, what I can promise you is we would all agree on 80% of things. It's the 20% we fight over, right? And boy, do we fight over it. And that's okay, debate is healthy. But what we do need to do is we need a Congress that works for America again. We can go to Republicans and Democrats and say when we're doing entitlement reform, yes, the cost of living needs to be tied to inflation. They would both agree with that. When we go to talk about education, we can agree that yes, every third grader should be able to read or we should hold them back. We can agree with them on the fact that we shouldn't be giving money to countries that hate America. There are things we can get done. And when the country realizes and feels, more importantly, Congress feels what it's like to win again, that's when we'll go back to where we need to be. And look, it's as toxic as I've ever seen it. And you know it's toxic when if somebody puts down a piece of legislation, everybody wants to know whose it is before they decide whether to support it. But it's going to take a new generation of leadership to say we're going to stop with the baggage of the past and let's get something done. That's when I think we'll get there again. And look, I had a lot of crisis situations as governor. I mean, we had, on the heels of Ferguson, we had an African-American man that was killed by a dirty cop, shot 7 times in the back, and he was unarmed. And it was on the heels of Ferguson. I remember I wanted to hold our state close. And so the first thing I did was I called the family, the Walter Scott family, and I said, I don't know what happened, but we're going to get you an answer. And my second call was to law enforcement. And I said, I don't know what happened, but we've got to fix this. A month later, I stood at a bill signing, and I had Walter Scott's family on the left side, and we passed the first body camera bill in the country. And the Scott family was on the left, and I said, never again will you have to worry that someone that does this won't be held accountable. And on the right side, I had law enforcement. And I said, never again will you have to worry that we don't have your back, and that when you do your job, we're going to take care of you. That's how you do it. And I think what's happened for so long is a leader's job is not to judge people. A leader's job is to bring out the best in people and take them to another place. That's what we have to do. And when we do that, that's when we win.